Here we go. So welcome to our webinar about positive sales. I have a guest today, and I will introduce him now. It's a medical doctor and psychologist and my dear colleague and alumni of our positive psychology trainings, Miroslaw Lubecki, Dr. Med Miroslaw Lubecki, MBA. So just to, emphasize his professional. And Miro is not only a medical doctor and a psychologist, he was also a top manager in the pharmaceutical industry. That's actually why we decided to create that webinar about positive sales together from these different angles. We in the language industry, we have a not so easy to sell product, translation, terminology, services. There's a lot of ignorance about the value of these services. And of course, in the pharma industry, for pharmaceuticals, their reputation is not the best. I wouldn't say either, because translation terminology has a neutral reputation, let's say. And that's why we today jointly will organize this webinar. And let me first start with a story. Those who know me know that I'm a big fan of storytelling. And it happened to me last weekend. As always, actually, in February, whenever I'm in Vienna, at that time, I am attending a great travel and adventure festival. It's a 2-day festival where photographers and how's that called? These travel journalists are presenting in a stunning way their travels, So within these 2 days, we went from Canada and Alaska to Namibia and Botswana, then went to Himalaya, to the north of Europe, from Ireland to Jerusalem, Sri Lanka and Patagonia and whatnot. So it was really a great event. And the travel from Luxembourg to Jerusalem, that was presented by a Catholic priest. And this guy, you wouldn't believe that this guy actually was a champion, a real professional in positive sales. He did it the right way. And what did he do? He was reporting, showing us pictures, not the fancy ones like the other photographers. He was a Catholic priest after all, and the pilgrim. He was showing us the various very touching and very funny steps and episodes of his pilgrimage, and he went by foot from Luxembourg to Jerusalem, and that was really interesting because he was so brilliant. He was very eloquent, very witty, and he definitely enjoyed being on stage. The audience enjoyed his presentation very much, in particular his humor. So really no other show got so much laughter than this priest show. And he was the only one who mentioned after the show, everybody after the show mentioned that, for further questions, please visit me I'm at your disposal. I'm at my booth, because there in this large area there were also a booths for selling. These people, they have videos, videotapes, they have books, they have calendars, all kinds of lovely stuff. They are then you can purchase that. They're selling, and he, the Catholic priest, was the only one who really was mentioning a price after the end of his presentation, the price of the product. Buy one of my books, pay 20 euro, buy 2 books for 30 euro, you know? And I was so surprised because it came so easy and so naturally, you know? So he wasn't ashamed of at all. It just was you know, just natural to mention also the price. And of course there were, you know, a large crowd, so many dozens and literally hundreds of people with their 30 euro. You could even see that they prepared those 30 euro and rushed to his booth. So I thought, wow, this guy, you know, he really got it right. That was a very, very nice example of enjoying to sell, to share, to sell the perma way. We will come to perma later on and what it can do for us to enjoy selling. So books, the product was a book in this case, or actually the product was a great story. The product was a lot of fun and empathy and very positive emotions we all got during this presentation. You might say, well, but this is not an easy to sell product actually. So let us come now to a product which is a little bit more tricky. And here Miro comes into play. And Miro, let me ask you, what is your experience with selling pharmaceuticals in an industry that, as we said earlier, does not have the best reputation, if I'm allowed to put it like that? How did you manage to prevent your sales team from becoming cynical or even developing burnout? So how did you do that? Selling pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, so thanks, Gabriele, for the introduction. And really, the reputation is a big issue. And sometimes the people were reluctant even to mention when they were with their friends that they work for the pharma industry, because the first reaction sometimes was not so pleasant. And we even had to work on it separately, making it clear that actually a lot of what pharmaceutical companies do is for the good of the patient. So when you can imagine like the world without antibiotics or world without insulin, or many other cases, I don't want to, the list is very long, where the drugs change the quality of life or even make it possible but to survive or live. So we put some effort. And of course the let's say damage on the reputation was also not without a reason, but just to your knowledge, for the last, I don't know how many exactly, but 10 years, the pharma industry is under such a magnifying glass of the public that you cannot even, nowadays also there's codices and laws and so on, so you cannot even give a pen to a doctor because it's already considered a potential corruption. So I think the times of the bad things that were done, and we should also mention, is like everywhere, it's not that all pharma companies and all members and all representatives did it. There were some cases, obviously, but it's from my experience, it was rather marginal. So I wouldn't say that I had a big issue with it, preventing burnout in the first place, because the link between the pharmaceutical representative and the doctor, it was rather pleasant one, because if you did the work properly, which I always try to train the people in the spirit of delivering additional value to the doctors.
Okay.
Very busy people who don't have the time in their evening to look through all the literature and check whether there are some new medicines or all the studies. It's so time consuming and so much additional burden. So we brought them the scientific data in a more easily digestible way, and also provided some trainings or seminars where the professors or experts in the field would provide some knowledge. So this was the starting point, like bringing education and information to them. So this was already of value. And also when you then look at the, let's say, selling process, so what happens between, let's say, the salesperson, which normally is called medical representative, and the doctor, which happens in the doctor's office. There is also a nice concept how to do it in a way that it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, you can imagine few people realize that, but the pharmaceutical sales is extremely complex, because normally if you think about sales, you have a customer and a provider. So you want to buy yourself, I don't know, a bike or a cosmetic, let's say. So you go to the shop and you see a product and you buy it, you give the money and they sell it to you. So there's two people and a transaction. In these terms, it's totally different in pharma, because the representative is talking to a doctor. The doctor is not buying the product. The product for the patient, but the patient is also not buying. Maybe like in Austria, they pay as a patient, we pay the prescription fee, but it's again not the real cost of the product. So the product is sold by the headquarters of the pharma company to wholesaler. So this is maybe the physical customer in a way, but on the other hand, the wholesaler is also not selling to patient. The wholesaler is selling to pharmacies, and pharmacies are selling, are giving the product to the patient, but also not selling, only taking this. So it's very, very complex. And the final payer is typically the government with our tax money, So,
are you saying, Miro, that actually there is no selling in this industry?
So it's no selling in a way. You can only, what you do as a pharmaceutical representative in doctor's office is typically, especially in case of innovative products. I was always on this side, so I was not selling generic products where you basically say we are the same but cheaper, more or less. What I had was the new innovative products. So either they were new category, so you were treating new diseases, or you would say, we are the same category, but we are better because, like, even for trivial reasons, but they are very often important. Like we had once antibiotic that could be given instead of 3 times a day, 2 times a day. It seems trivial, but typically the middle dose is being forgotten, and then you got into problems. But in the morning, in the evening, you can do. So just an example. But then you have to explain to the doctor that it matters, and there is a special selling process where you kind of convince the doctor that the quality of your product will deliver value to his patients, not for him personally, maybe indirectly as well, because they will value him as a better doctor that prescribes better drugs, but it's, again, indirect and kind of subtle. And there is a special way which, when now I know the PERMA system, I would say it's kind of very compatible with this approach where you make sure that you have good relationship with the doctor. So that's why also there was this issue of invitations, maybe to congresses, which again is not anymore a case. But
I've seen you hugging doctors, and you were just friends. How did you manage to establish such a good relationship? That's really stunning.
I think you said, that's this is something I also learned. I'm not by nature this type of a person that would hug everybody, but this body contact, it brings so much. It's a symbol of trust, and you can work on it to make the distance a bit closer. And if you manage, it has to be authentic finally, because nobody will hug you if they hate you or don't like you and don't accept. But some people are simply afraid of it, of this, of getting more personal, of talking about personal issues, about, let's say, vacations. Where did you spend your vacation? What is your family like? What are your passions? What is your life outside of your profession? And so this was something that we trained our people to kind of a little bit make friends with the doctors, be close to them, and build trust. So I always said, first you need to sell yourself and present yourself as a trustworthy person. Then you can sell the company, and in the end you might sell the medicine. Rather than the other way around, just jumping into details of the product. This was the basic philosophy. And then during the call, and this is I think very important, we always try to sell based on the needs, which I would there is this famous saying everybody likes buying, but nobody likes
to be sold. Exactly.
So exactly. The basic philosophy behind professional selling in pharmaceuticals is that you try to discover areas where the doctor is not quite happy with the current medication or methods. And if he admits that, okay, here I have a lot of side effects, or here the patients are upset because they cannot continue, they cannot take the drugs so often, or they have these or that problems, then knowing that your product has some solutions to this, you try to first discover the needs and then offer the solution in this context, rather than coming and telling about your product up front.
Yeah.
This would
Yeah.
be, I would say, the critical,
Mm-hmm.
some critical points, like trying to make friends with the doctors, showing your personal side, talking about yourself,
Yeah.
trying to establish personal relationship of trust
Mm-hmm.
to the
Okay.
person, to the company. And then if you talk about the drugs, first discover the needs of the doctors, his therapeutical needs, where the drugs he's using so far until that moment are not perfect, where the
Mm-hmm.
patient is not quite happy, and then try to offer certain additional benefits of your products in
Mm-hmm.
this context. So this would be, let's say, that the general stuff.
Yeah, great, Miro. Thank you. How easy or difficult was it for your sales team members to do that, you know, to implement that nice theory in practice? Because I could imagine that, you know, making friends with your clients doesn't come that naturally, as in my story, that priest was mentioning the price of his books. So what was the
It's very
challenge here?
interesting, I would say, because we have an international audience here. I would say that it's very interesting that it's very specific to the country. I also work in other countries.
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
originally, I come from Poland, and there was my first experiences, but I also worked or at least could observe how the sales process looks like in other countries, like in Holland, like in
Okay.
UK, like in Portugal, Italy, and
Interesting.
Austria,
Yeah.
of course, as well, and Germany.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I would say that Austrians, from my experience, have the least problems. I mean, the Austrian pharma representatives
Mm-hmm.
with establishing this friendly relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
even had to rebalance it, that they were too much concentrated on creating this friendly relationship and then not being able to ask for sales, because there is a moment when you
To
mentioned about
close, yeah.
the priest that to close the sales said, so look, doctor, we talked about these patients and these problems, and do you see any patients for our medicine? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And this was, from my experience in Austria specifically, a huge problem, that the people assumed, you know, I established a relationship, they like me, and they know I explain about the product, so they know what to do.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely not the case many times. So my task was, paradoxically, with the experienced reps, to tell them, look, I mean, relationship is there. You make a great story about the product. You work on the needs, but then finally, just to know where you are standing, ask the doctor, is he going to prescribe
Mm-hmm.
or not? I mean, you cannot push him, you cannot force him, of course, but you have the right to ask, which is in a way kind of asking for feedback. Was I convincing in this talk, doctor? And did I convince you that our product is good for your patients or
Sure.
not? And
Sure.
of course, they are not obliged, and they don't sign, just that, you know, there is no signature or no obligation during such sales call.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't even be called sales
Yeah.
call, because
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
medical information and some kind of
Yeah.
convincing the doctor that this product is good for the patient, but the doctor can do whatever he likes, and there is no obligation whatsoever. Never.
I understand. So obviously the Austrians didn't feel too much on ease when asking. Yeah, they even asking was already
It was
selling not appropriate.
and even many of them said, you know, we are already kind of friends, you know, we are on you basis, like on do in English doesn't sound well, but in German speaking countries we have this Z and do
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Some of them were on do, so we kind of like close friends, and then they felt uncomfortable, you know, kind of. But
I see.
I'm here finally as a professional trying to sell some medicine, so tell me, will you buy or will you use my product or not? They felt very uncomfortable about this.
And what about the Netherlands? What about the Netherlands? They are actually famous for being quite straight ahead.
So they were probably, I'm not sure whether this is because of their being too straight, but my experience in Netherlands was that they were instructed to postpone the selling moment until you cover all aspects, because some medicines have many benefits. So I was present at a talk where a representative was kind of convincing and made a great point on one benefit, and I would intuitively kind of sell and ask for business, but they were instructed, maybe because of naturally being too direct by their so long you just explain, and then you next visit you explain next benefit, and on the fourth or fifth visit, then you ask after you made the whole story. So
very,
they were,
very
from my
interesting.
point of view, very unflexible, kind of waiting too long for asking for the business because of formal instructions from the boss. So this was kind of totally different problem.
Interesting. So you see, those who are from the language industry, now I almost get the feeling that we are better off with our products and services. However, what is in our industry? What is the tricky thing? You know, when I joined the language industry in the 1990s, so in the Stone Age. My job was to make the International Network for Terminology independent from public funding. So the only way to do that was, of course, to sell terminology, not only in terms of promoting the value and importance of managing terminology properly, but definitely to create, to design products and services to be sold, to get the revenue, to become independent. And in the beginning, when I was young, I really I traveled the world preaching. Sometimes it was nice to preach to the converted, but when I really wanted to raise the awareness and sell the services of our members, not necessarily the tools, because they were rare at the time, 20 years ago. That was not the same market as today. But I learned that it's very difficult to convince those who are just ignorant, and they have the right to be ignorant. A client actually always has the right to be ignorant, to not knowing anything about the product or service we are going to sell. So then I understood that we need this relationship with the client, to just say, I've seen some of nice presentations in our language field, where first, they came up with all the the negative things it would cause when you do not manage language, translation, and terminology, and then they come up, but there is help outside, we will help it. And I adopted this style for a while. I was quite successful, I would say, to really to just show people, well, it's your choice. There are there is the damage. This your attitude, your ignorance in terms of not managing language will cause. The cost, the inconsistency, the whatnot, and here comes the solution. And I learned, and I love this quote: you have to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. This is very true for the language industry, because unfortunately our product, is considered as a nuisance. As Miro said, well, the pharmaceutical industry might have a bad reputation because some black sheeps, they just bribe doctors or whatnot. But the product itself is actually, a good stuff. The product, the medication itself. The industry might have that fishy connotation, but the industry, medication is good for people. Can heal people. And that's what everybody understands. Every patient, every human being is actually keen on getting medication, good medication. We do so since the beginning of time. Various different languages is considered already in the Bible. It's actually we were punished. It was a punishment for humankind to be too ambitious, to erect the Tower of Babel, and we got punished, and then we ended up with all these hundreds and thousands of languages, and we didn't understand each other. So even in this, if we just talking about that Christian European connotation, it is not a pleasant thing, to have a lot of languages and to render a service, like translation or terminology management, where you, even in one language, you sort out inconsistencies and you try to harmonize the definitions and explanations, of concepts and terms, is actually considered as painful. It's a nuisance. It costs a lot of time, and we don't understand. And in particular, experts, and the higher in the hierarchy you're going, the more people get angry when they don't understand. when managers get the feeling, but what's all about this, language issue? Yeah, what these people are actually doing? It's a nuisance. Then and I am not familiar with it. Then it's very difficult actually to find a way to, in this natural way, to sell things. So what I did, I just tried to share, to inform, as Miro said. Yeah? That's a good way, I think, to really get it more neutral. Yeah, not be aggressive in buy, please. Otherwise, you will end up in a horrible mess. Yeah, that's one strategy. But I think the better strategy is it was for the language industry, to be informative, and first of all, to be, entertaining. Yeah, to really provoke these positive emotions, like this Catholic priest did. He told us such a huge amount of great stories, touching experience. We had such a laughter, with him, with this wonderful presentation. So this was really PERMA, in terms of the P of PERMA is positive emotions. Yeah, so we felt well. Yeah, whenever, and of course it comes with the R, with the relationships. Yeah, of course this person was then not only evoking positive emotions, but a good relationship. We felt comfortable. And whenever I had these high-ranking meetings, we did quite a lot of large consultancy project in terminology and translation management, and there you have meetings with CEOs. Yeah, they don't have much time, and they are busy and a bit arrogant, and the best way, actually, and I did that extensively and can recommend it. I always started to praise their products and services, their company, because I noticed that when you, as a language person, uh, you risk to come across like the know-it-all. You are focused on the problems. There is a mess on your website, as an example. There is a product, and the name of the product is different from your catalog, and the product number is again different. Yeah, so this to point out, that there is a mess or there is a mistake. Yeah, well, nobody is too pleased to
accept this kind of
to accept that we made a mistake. Yeah, so the first thing actually I did, and I really can recommend it, is to say your company is great, and you're obviously doing well when you have clients, and when you have large corporations with clients, you you better make your homework and look at their websites and look at how much
which is true,
turnover.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was really the challenge, to establish this nice and pleasant, good relationship, and to evoke positive emotions. And there is no use actually pointing with fingers to mistakes, because this immediately creates this negative atmosphere. Yeah? And of course, and I think there are other specifics in our industry, and please use the chat panel if you would like to raise an additional. This is one example, of having a lot of challenges to inform people, to really raise awareness of the importance of dealing with the translation terminology on a professional level, but also not to create this atmosphere of pointing, pointing with fingers. Oop, there is a mistake, and look at you. There was three different names and designations for one product, and the more general ones are actually, and I think, Miro, you mentioned it already. I think you can confirm that the more we like the product ourselves, the more we are even, enthusiastic about it, and the more we see the greater good. You mentioned that when talking about the value and also the added value of informing doctors about new, innovative pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. So the patient has the real value of the product, but the doctor might not know about it. And instead of having to sit down himself in the evening, he gets it in a very comprised, very, very easy to digest way. So he benefits from this service that we provide. And if it's done in a nice way, and if the product really delivers added value for patients, so it's really a win-win. And if you believe it, and if you are enthusiastic and convinced that you really do something that is worthwhile and that makes sense, that has some purpose, and that the patient benefits, the doctor benefits, so why should you be ashamed, or why should you not show enthusiasm and full engagement? You are doing something good that makes sense, and then with this attitude you are much more convincing finally.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, for the language industry, this is a bit more difficult, because the value of a medication, of a new great, a product is more evident than the value of a good translation or a decent terminology management. We have one comment, one question. Could the pointing finger approach work if you use a fictional company, organization, or would it still come across a negative? Hendrik, this is a wonderful question. I did that as well. I invented bad examples. Yeah? So of course they actually were always true, because you see a lot of not managed language and terminology out there, and we collected, of course, these stories of, the worst practice example, of what could happen not, of course, no, you do not do that, of course not, you're great, but these others, your competitors, imagine what happened to them. This can work, of course. I think as long as you do it again in an entertaining way, it would work if you can joke around it, if you get a laughter. Of course, I must say, this is my strategy, because humor is also my strength, one of my signature strengths. This is different when you guys, you think about what I'm really good at, what I'm enjoying, where am I strong at, and this is just not your style, to tell a story, or to to be funny and stuff like that, then this is okay, that's fine. It's I had good experience with that style, with my style, that's why I'm sharing it. You guys should really think about the situations where selling was easy for you, when you had a good deal, when you made a good deal, when you had the impression, wow, this is a client who comes back to me. That's actually the best sign of a nice selling process, because when they come back, you made something right, and if this works, in highly competitive industries, it does work. Why? Because but actually not with the negative example, it works better. Now I remember an example when I praised another company, another multinational huge corporation that already implemented a very good terminology and translation management system. So there I was playing at that level of benchmarking, you know, of a little bit envy and they look at each other, you know, they always compare in these competitive industries, you know, and when the other does something like with ISO 9001, yeah, think about the mother of quality management. It is the after ISO 26000, the social responsibility standard, ISO 9001 is the most sold standard ever, you know. But 10, 15 years ago, it was quite different, you know. It was not famous and not known already. But then, you know, when the first large players, the big fishes in any industry, when they start getting certified, you know, all the others look at them and say, oh, who? What is that? They claim now to be certified and comply to, and against international quality criteria. Wow! So let's have a look. We should have that too. and this is sometimes how it works with positive examples. Actually, with negative examples, I learned that in marketing and sales trainings, that the attention, you know, goes much more to the negative. Let's say with these headers, I learned that when you put the 5 most frequent mistakes language people make and how to avoid them. Yeah. So it's like in with positive psychology, we have that negativity bias. That's true. So on the other way around, you know, of course you can raise attention. Let's put it like that. You can raise attention with negative headlines in terms of just mistakes or you know, raising something negative. And then, of course, I always smuggled in then the positive solution, you know, and how to avoid that. I had quite a lot of these headlines. Yeah? That's something different. Then it's about raising awareness. And actually, I'm not the biggest fan of this methodology any longer, because I just think that we should trust in our positive psychology stuff, you know. We should trust that positive sales with positive connotations, and not with pointing finger approach, but actually with praising the good examples and the best practice examples. And they exist, you know. They exist also in the you know, in the medical industry. Yeah, we had clients in the medical engineering. Yeah. And there it was really not only important, but very satisfying and rewarding to implement a decent terminology management system and translation management system, because it's so relevant. You know, it really can save lives when there is a good translation of you know, of a medication, and the instruction how to use it. It really makes a difference, you know. So I'm more of that part of you know, really doing the perma selling, and we will come to that in a minute. Do you have any further questions, comments, guys? I'm now reading the chat panels. If not, let me ask you, Miro, because we were talking about these differences with Austrian salespeople and in the Netherlands. Do you have the feeling that it's kind of a cultural thing, that we here in Europe are a little bit suspicious when it comes to selling in this straight way? Is it cultural also from this religious background we have? Although, as my story with the priest shows, even the Catholic Church is obviously, or at least he was open to selling for a greater good, because he didn't mention what the money goes to afterwards. But I could imagine that there is a charity, or he's planning his next pilgrimage or whatever. Yeah? What do you think? Is there a difference between the US or North America, their way of selling and their attitude to towards selling, and the European way of a little bit, suffering to be too much straightforward with selling and closing in particular?
Yeah, I think definitely we have some cultural differences, and they are also influenced historically by religions. And I think especially Catholic Church had a certain role here, and it's well known that the Protestant countries developed at a certain stage faster because, for instance,
Sure.
lending money on percentage was allowed, and Catholic Church for many centuries saw it as something very bad, and it was not allowed. Also,
Mm-hmm.
the noble classes in Catholic societies could not deal with selling because it was considered as a low grade activity. So the perception of selling in Europe
Mm-hmm.
for many years was kind of bad, and it
Mm-hmm.
changes. And now, of course, I don't think that Catholic Church or Catholic priests would say something negative about it, but it takes sometimes generations until these
Yeah.
things are changed because they stay in the families, and it's really amazing how long it takes. I will give one example, which is maybe not about sales, but I have this observation in Poland, which was for over 100 years under occupation of three countries, and one of these countries was Austria. I mean, actually, was the nicest occupant, but what is still there in Krakow in Galicia, this region, is that the people are very keen to use titles. Like everybody says Herr Magister or whatever. Like in Austria, even comparing Austria with Germany, the titles are important because of Franz Josef, and he didn't have the money, so he gave the titles out. And now Poland is independent for already, I don't know, 5 generations or so. And still, if you compare Krakow region to other regions, we call them title mania country or region because everybody is using the titles. And it's clearly because of this tradition. So it's just a small example that it takes generations to get
Yeah.
rid of certain things, so to say, even if it's not officially promoted anymore.
Yeah.
And I think in the States, looking at the history of states where they started from scratch and there were some pioneers going and they had to create new laws and new rules for their own. And, in America, I think to say I'm a businessman or I'm selling things, it sounds like you can be proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Europe, we rather tended to value more something like coming from a noble family before and then maybe being educated nowadays for the last centuries, having maybe the titles or having the formal education, having a safe position. But, this kind of doing your own business and selling was not considered to be something that people with certain level would aspire to. And now I
Very
think it
true.
also changes, but I think it's still somehow there, and a lot of people have an issue defining themselves as salespeople. So, for instance, in pharma, where we had a lot of well-educated people in the, let's say, actually basically selling positions, they are almost never called salespeople. They are called like consultants or medical
Yes.
representatives, key
I
account
see.
managers, or let's say medical liaison managers, or all kind of these strange titles which nobody understands because nobody wants to say they are salespeople.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. I think we have an issue with the underlying notion of money. When it reminded me when you mentioned that in the US, it's actually it's very normal to mention that one is a salesperson. I remember the situations where we are talking with North American colleagues about salaries, and there was pride, and joy when, wow, how much do you earn? Yeah, so asks Austrian how much here she's earning. Ooh, this is a no-go. Actually, it's getting better, as you said, Miro. I really can confirm that it takes generations, and the younger generation is more and more relaxed. At least some parts. There are also very, very traditional and conservative youngsters, I learned. So the 30 years old, they are really sometimes from the attitude and the values, very traditional and conservative. But more or less, it's more relaxed in terms of what money actually plays, the role money plays in our lives. From that, you already mentioned it, from that actually, money is something we have, but we are not mentioning it. Yeah, that's not noble to do so.
So there's this British saying, I think,
Yeah.
that gentlemen don't talk about money, they have.
Here we go, and we have that. We adopted that saying in German language, and this is, I think, a real difference between North America and Europe, and but I think it's nice now to observe how much also the role, the value of money, and having a high salary and so on is changing. The younger generation, actually, the so-called millennials, and so, they are quite picky when joining the labor market, because they actually have already different values. They appreciate more work-life balance, and the meaning. They really are looking for much more for perma situations, with where they can have positive emotions, where they see the greater good, the meaning. Then they actually engage. They wouldn't like in the past just sell something because they need a job. Maybe they start like that, but actually, if they get older, they really want to be part of something that is greater than themselves.
So like they join your organization because they share your values, rather than
Exactly.
settle their time for the money you are ready to pay.
Exactly.
Time, which is the old way of thinking, like selling our time for money, which is, I think, also not so nice. And I think basically the new generation, even though they are being complained upon, and many people think that it's strange, but in a way, I think it makes more sense what they demand. Yeah, that they want to have the values, to have the vision, to have the purpose, and to enjoy their work, and not only get the money and then have to do whatever the boss says, whether you understand it or not. So this more
definitely
sense than our generation's ideas, I would say.
Yes, definitely. And I really mentioned that many times when in our international terminology, summer schools, for instance, that really this is an activity. Yeah, this work and management. You have to, love what you do and do what you love. It's also, it may sound trivial, but it's definitely, when you are selling, difficult to sell products, you must love the product, and you must love the way to design and create this product. When you're a translator, and you are fed up with with translating and with the ignorance of your clients and the low payment, etc., then you better leave. You better leave and find yourself something else where you can again flourish, but stop translating, because it will make you cynical and sick. Yeah, it's only a matter of time that you're suffering physically and mentally, suffering from selling something you are not really convinced any longer, because it's too difficult for you, or you're getting cynical about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we, as the positive psychology community, should be the pioneers of conveying this message, and showing that we walk the talk and enjoy the things we do, and so on.
Exactly.
I tried a few times, I must say, but not always with great result. Like, for instance, some people ask me, what do I do? And when I was still working in the pharma industry, actually, I liked the job a lot. And sometimes I said, actually, I love my job. But then most people looked at me like if I was a bit crazy. I mean,
that's suspicious. In Austria, to love your job.
And I tested it. I knew that it might come like this, but still, I thought, okay, what would the people? Because actually, they should say congratulations. Yeah. Because, do you have some, free positions or whatever? But people say, are you crazy? Oh, that's strange. So the expectation is kind of, you shouldn't love your job. You should just
Yes,
sell your money, sell your time for the money, and then love some other things like your hobbies, your family, whatever,
exactly,
which is, I
exactly.
think, pickier because you spend so much time in your job. Why shouldn't you actually really enjoy or love or whatever you call
Yes,
it, but
yes.
have this intensive positive emotion rather than just kind of accept it because you need the money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I do hope that this will change a little bit, but it's very much in the Austrian culture. I fully agree. Yeah, that's true. We have one more very interesting question, again from Henrik. Thanks. Could it be that there is a suspicion towards non-economist salespeople about their economic capabilities? So if I understand you correct, Henrik, you mean that us, the people, the language people, who are also medical doctors. Yeah, that's even.
Could be as well, yeah, absolutely.
Are we kind of, are we taken serious when selling? Because we are not from, well, we both have an MBA, Miro and myself. I must stress that. But you're right. Sometimes this is, yes. Yeah. I actually have very good experience with that. And you know why? It is a good argument, of not selling in the usual way, in the, let's say, fishy way. Huh? When you are an expert, in your field, and when you're passionate about that, yeah, then first of all, you can, of course, get trainings how to do that. And we will launch a training in positive sales, because I think it's so valuable, together with experts and professionals like Miro for that industry. We will design a positive sales training for the medical and pharmaceutical industry at large, and we will design other positive sales training for other industries, because I do believe that the experts, the passionate experts, the passionate professionals, they are the best selling people. Why? Because they can, even play with this background. They can say, well, if I would be a professional salesperson, I would maybe say da da da, this and that. However, I'm enthusiastic about that product, and I will find out what are really your needs. What you, as my good client, or my good potential client, whatever, really needs. This is this magic of being empathic, yeah, of really understanding, of trying to understand what your client really needs, not to have the revenues in your mind and have your all your benefits and your job in mind, but really think about what could be that added value, as Miro also mentioned. How can I make your life easier? This is one sentence and one slide in my standard presentation in front of large clients. Yeah? First, your company is great, your products are really amazing. Yeah? If they are, I do my homework, I do research, yeah? But I only have good clients, I must say. I'm picky with my clients. And second, how can my service, terminology management, translation management, quality management, yeah, make your life easier? And I mean it. I really mean it, because I'm convinced that these services we are offering, yeah, and I love these services, I'm passionate about that these services are relevant, that they do make the lives of our clients easier. And if you're serious about that, if you convey that message, if you truly believe in it, yeah, then people will understand and will get interested, because this is the other approach we need. Not the I want to sell you something, but what do you need? Yeah? What do you actually need? How can I serve you? How can I help you? Yeah? So I think that the non-economist salespeople, as Henrik called them, are very, very good in that. Yeah? As long as they, and now we will come to the perma sales, as long as they um, managed to use that model. It's a model of well-being, yeah? A perma and Miro, I would invite you every second a character is for you. So the PERMA, I start with a P. I mentioned it already. P stands for positive emotions. Yeah? Positive emotions such as interest. You know, wow, your product sounds interesting because you are asking me what I need or if this could be helpful for me. Yeah? So positive emotions like, laughter. We enjoy a joyful experience, yeah, together. For yourself and your clients, yeah. Don't think that you are an entertainer and you are having your show to please your clients. The real secret of positive sales, I'm convinced of, is that the salesperson is enjoying the whole situation of informing, selling, as much as the client should do. So I think the positive emotions, we should always bear in mind. Yeah? How can I create an atmosphere where I myself am feeling comfortable and have positive emotions? Yeah? And of course for the client, the one is dependent on the other. The more you feel comfortable, the more you will be contagious with that. The more positive emotions you have yourself towards your product, towards the process of selling, the more you will convey that to your clients. So the E is for you, Miro.
Maybe one last comment to this speed.
Please.
I had this reflection that even before I got to know the positive psychology, I remember I used to tell my reps that if they visit the doctor, and sometimes the doctor would have to have like 30, 40 or even more patients a day, and then in between the patients, the rep comes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I said, make sure you are as a kind of like a positive break in this, series of sometimes tragical, yeah, because the patients come with their diseases, with their issues. They are most of the time unhappy people,
Mm-hmm.
and they bring all the negativity, what happened, and they are ill, they have all these symptoms, and they are afraid what happens, and they need help. But this is basically not so funny, I would say. It's
Sure,
tragic.
definitely,
It's
definitely, yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
suffer and so on, and then to use this opportunity to bring some to the office of the doctor, to bring some positivity, some nice feelings, that he wants to see you again, that you do it in a style
Yes.
that he always wants to take you and meet with you again. So as a
Mm-hmm.
general message.
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. Of course, if you look forward to a meeting with somebody, this is the best, the best prerequisite to to enjoy then the whole selling process, and of course also enjoy buying, because if the product is good, if the guy is nice and authentic, and honest, well, this ideal, as you said earlier, everybody loves to buy also, but doesn't love to be sold.
But I mean, if you like the potential seller, then the buying process is much easier, and that's why
Exactly.
we come now from P to E, which is this engagement part,
Yeah.
where enthusiasm and this positive approach, and then you see that the person believes in their products, that it's kind of coherent, cohesive, and authentic in the role, that he's not only selling because he gets the money for it, but because he believes that it's a good solution, in this case for the patient. So in my industry, it was especially important to
Mm-hmm.
and many people are attracted by the job because they think they bring some value, they do something positive, comparing to, I don't know, selling cigarettes, for instance.
Sure. Oh yes.
Positive
Yeah.
change rather than
Yeah.
make money and people get ill. So the purpose is there, but you need to see it, understand it, believe in it, and show it also during the
Yeah. Yeah.
visit, with your enthusiasm, with your positivity, with your smile,
Mm.
with your energy. And I
Mm.
think this is
Mm.
kind of like a flow experience, even because flow belongs, this famous flow experience belongs to this E. And I think if the real, the great representative, I think if he presents his product, he should kind of experience this flow, that he would
Mm-hmm.
in his or her element, that showing great, having this great opportunity to show what good things the product can do, in this case for the patient, the doctor. So I think it's absolutely possible, and this engagement is crucial for success.
Definitely, definitely. Very, very good explanation and example, Miro. Thank you. So, and from a relationship, we were talking about that already. Of course, all these
interconnected.
It's interconnected, exactly. So it's not like linear or chronological. It's really interactive and interrelated. Yeah. So relationship is everything, and positive psychology we can't emphasize it enough. Yeah. So also resilience. I think that of course you're not selling every to everybody and everything. Yeah. So failure is very natural. Yeah. And usual in the in all industries. And I think the resilience we then get, it comes from all these wonderful colleagues or clients. This is why these our positive psychology trainings are always magic, because then you meet the people, you feel, you share the energy. But also our international terminology summer schools, they are always so really magical, because people from all over the world come together and share not only their knowledge, but really also their pain. They then get comfort, get recognition, because, or as you said, in the pharmaceutical industry, when you are not ashamed any longer to mention what you are selling, but that you with proud and with understanding of each other, you just mingle and share. And this sharing and caring, I think this is also something in every industry. If you care about your clients, if you care about the community, the society, this greater good, and you think, you truly believe that your product or service is a good one that brings benefit and value added to the community, then actually the relationship is an authentic one, an honest one, a true one. And this is the basis of all our marketing and selling. Yeah, I have a lot of examples where it's just word of mouth. Yeah, it's really just we for some products we do not need to do a lot of advertisement. It's just collecting the feedback from clients and having these testimonials. Of course, it works nicely. I learned that in the US, how to you really collect testimonials, feedback, and post it on the website. This is great, and the more honest this is, and we only use, of course, quotes that are confirmed from our participants, and they write it actually for us. I'm just, please could you be so kind to send us a feedback, and then we get really wonderful, very very convincing, of course, feedbacks, because people are enthusiastic about the products and the services, and this is the best case. And then they come back and come back. We have a community. Yeah? This is so nice. We really are a community of like-minded people, also in positive psychology, of course, but also in your industry, in my industry. This is really kind of a family, yeah, that really wants to make part of the society, part of the world better, a better place. Yeah, it sounds maybe a little bit pathetic, but it actually is like it is, not only with medication pharmaceuticals, but really also with the translation to to facilitate proper communication and so on.
If a customer is willing to pay for something, it means automatically that it has, this product or service has a value. Otherwise, nobody would pay for it. So it is a valuable thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Then meaning, the M is the meaning. Of course, it's again, we mentioned it. The more I actually just mentioned it. The more you are convinced that it makes sense. It really makes sense to selling such a product, because it makes a community. It serves community. It makes life better and easier for others. The more you see the meaning, and this is this is your battery. Yeah, you do not need a lot of self motivation when you're really convinced of, hey, this is a great thing I'm selling here, and there are nice people, and great feedback from clients. They report back that they really benefited from my product or service. So this is just wonderful. And then you reach the A. What is the A?
Yeah,
Mira?
accomplishments and achievements. Yeah, so it's so important that, like for us, in order to be happy and have a meaningful life based on well-being, we need accomplishments and achievements. That we do something that is ambitious, and then we succeed, and we are proud of it. So also in this relationship and in selling it, the product should have a promise, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
finally, if we believe and convey this message that with this product or service that we offer, we can achieve a certain goal, like that, let's say the patient will be treated better or quicker in my case, or
Mm-hmm.
there will
Mm-hmm.
be less side effects. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the doctor, normally, if the doctor cares for the patients, he would be happy, but he wants to see the concrete benefits. So it's not only, okay,
Definitely.
I'm a nice guy and I'm selling, but look, this is something that you can be proud yourself because you accomplish a better treatment. So you do your job, dear doctor, better, because
Yeah.
your patients are cured better or faster, or experience less
Mm-hmm.
side effects,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
you deliver a powerful message showing that thanks to our service or product, we make the life of the patients, in this case, better, or whatever else, like in your industry,
Mm-hmm.
there is more
Mm-hmm.
clarity,
Yeah,
or easy
exactly.
understanding,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. I remember, once, a couple of years ago, I was um, uh, at the project meeting in Budapest, and I had to sneak out from that meeting. It was an EU-funded project. I had to sneak out because I had a conference call with a client in the US, and it was the last. I was pitching for weeks, so for a large corporation, it's kind of challenging. I like that, I had it makes me, um, it makes me not only fit, but I'm eager to show also, that terminology and translation management is great. And we can do that very professional and so on. So I was pitching and pitching, and it was the last round. Yeah. So right before the decision which service provider they would hire for that job. And then when they told me, yeah, Gabriele, we're very pleased to let you know that we decided in favor of TermNet. So you're organized. And I really remember after the Skype conference was over, I was alone in that room. I was singing and dancing. I just couldn't help, because I thought that this would be a wonderful job, yeah, to do for that great company. Yeah, I learned a lot about the company, their product, and all, medical devices, and it was just so cool. And I was there, and this is for me this picture, and this emotional memory of being so glad and proud, and I just wanted to celebrate this success of getting a very interesting project. I didn't know yet, of course, how it would be, and if it would be a success. But I was so convinced, that everything would go right, and that this is going to be a great project. And this feeling I often recall, when that, in particular, as I said, with the resilience, in particular when you're losing a client or so, and when I'm a little bit, stressed out, then I recall this feeling of, wow, it was such a great achievement, or when we after 1 week with our terminology summer school participants, when we hand over the certificates of attendance, and say goodbye and say let's stay in contact. It's such a personal, emotional feeling of it's really cool to do that, because the community is so nice, it's so rewarding, because it's and as you say, when you see how people survive longer, get cured, how cool is this? Doctors can perform their jobs and their duties better. You're really supporting health in society. This is most rewarding, and sometimes it's really important, I do believe, that we recall that we remind us how important, how much meaning we have, and how great it felt to be successful
And
in
I
the
really like
industry.
what you said about his accomplishment, also from the, let's say, salesman point of view, because I initially concentrated on the aspect of that we have to deliver some potential achievement and accomplishment for the client.
Yeah.
But I think it's both important. So I think if the client is happy with the results and the achievements, we can be happy as well, because a happy
Exactly.
client means for us future. But
Yes.
I think this consistency here, that it's a classical win-win. Yeah. Only if the client is happy, we have the right to be happy and proud as well. And I think that's the best solution and great conclusion, that we can be happy as salespeople if we make our customers happy with the solutions we
Yes.
provide.
Yes, it's as simple as that. And I would like to finish with the answer to Lola Bendana's question I like very much also. What tools do you suggest to reduce fear in our colleagues within the language industry? They tend to be afraid of losing business rather than believing in the profession. And I think this is a very, very valuable and important questions now that machine translation is really paying ground. Yeah? We have with these new technologies and deep learning and whatnot, and neural machine translation, we are entering into a new phase of machine translation, and still some people are afraid, or still many people in the language industry are quite frustrated from my experience, that the value of their service is not recognized, that it's only about price. As you might know, I'm also active as an auditor for international standards for translation services, ISO 17100, and now the new machine translation post editing service. So I get a very, very clear picture of the developments and trends in the language industry, which is lovely. I really enjoy this function of an auditor, and that's why I really see a lot of this I would even call it a self-made pressure from the industry of really playing everything with price. This is not a good idea, of course, because it's like with supermarkets. Yeah, when you just when you take a translation or terminology service as a commodity, you always risk this price battle then, and you can't, even with the machine translation, you actually, nobody can win if it's only about the price. Of course, clients and all these, the purchasing stuff, they all have sometimes little knowledge about the value of and also the whole process of coming up with a decent translation, and they consider only the price. Yeah. And this is frustrating, of course. Yeah? And my point is always that on the one hand, of course, we need to inform and raise awareness of that value in front of clients, but we also, need to empower the language industry people in terms of being really proud, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, being proud and convinced of that value. And it's really all about the love and passion you feel, yeah, for translating. And of course, this is something you need batteries. This is something not necessarily, refilling the batteries, only, uh, per se. Yeah, you have to do something, and sometimes you just have to take a break. Yeah, it's so, stressful. The translator's business is very, very, very stressful, and I think this fear comes from this feeling of, oh, I can hardly, make a living with this. When it comes to freelancers, the so-called freelancers, they are working for agencies. Yeah, but even for the smaller one-person enterprises, small and medium-sized translation companies, the fear comes from that pressure of competition and the price pressure. My recommendation always is specify, find your niche. Don't offer any languages in any subject fields. I have clients, they focus on medical industry or pharmaceutical industry, German English, full stop. No other industry, no other language pairs, So very, very focused in a niche, and they are not even asked for prices, or price reductions or so on. Their price is not an issue any longer, because they are so specialized, they are so good. Sometimes they are even medical doctors or technicians themselves, and these are very good translators, and they are very well received, of course, from the industry. And I think this fear is always a very bad a bad starting point of facing challenges. It's way better to how to put that, to really to look at look at the positive achievements you have so far. Look at your positive clients. Yeah, those clients you really want to work with. I met translation companies. They actually were suffering from one client so much, that they were way better off when they just, finished the business with these clients. Yeah, they can even ruin you. Large clients, which are just, pressing prices, just, doing that price dumping, they can definitely ruin you. So I do believe that we should empower people in our language industry to love what they do what they love, get out of this negative spiral of price reductions, of competition. Yeah, I do think that with this PERMA model, when you think also of this main the R, the relationship, there are so many other translation companies out there you can partner with. I do believe in cooperation. I do believe in niche markets, in focusing on specializing on rare things. Yeah, and actually, I think, of course, if you ask me about tools, I could now sell positive psychology and tell you, well, trading in positive sales is nice. Maybe this is a nice tool, to really to bring you back to that positive feeling of how cool and nice is this to be a translator, or a language service provider, or to run a translation company, or to be a terminologist, and offer this service. So thank you very much indeed. We ran out of time, but it was really wonderful to also get your questions. Thank you very much indeed for that. And Miro, do you have something to add or to comment? I think you did enjoy the webinar.
Absolutely. Really interesting. Thank you for inviting me, Gabriele.
My pleasure.
Welcome and learned a lot today, and you made such a nice closing remarks that I will stay silent. And thank you, everybody, for
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you very much, guys. We will keep you informed about the other webinars we are doing together and for our industries. And you will get, of course, the link also for the recordings. So bye-bye. Have a wonderful evening or lunch from the other side of the continent. So all the very best. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mira, again. It was a pleasure,
thank you.
as
All the
always,
best. Thanks.
discussing with you. Bye-bye. All the best. And I wish you permanent fun with selling your great products. Bye-bye, guys.